Big up Faith Factory.
Well, that's his. Yeah, he told me that the other day, and I told you I'd tell you that.
Oh, wicked, man. I appreciate you, my brother.
Now I just go and sit down. Now I go because the other day I said, he's like, "What do you want?" I go, "I don't know, man." I was like, "Go ahead." Good to be able to do that.
Wicked.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, man. All right, my brother. So what else, man?
I don't know what else you got. Anything on you? You don't have it on the list. Did you watch any of the shows that I told you to watch, guy?
No, I'm still getting through Adolescene
Where are you
and
now? Where are you now? Episode
episode
three is done.
4. I'm on episode 4 now.
Episode 4. Episode 3. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. You know, those two held the room really well. They played it back and forth really well. It was good.
So what do you think of the show now?
I like this show.
You like that? See, yeah, this is where I was like, I don't know, man. But you just
I
have to
like.
look at it different. That's what we were talking about the other day. So if you have
Mhm.
to look at it, you have to look at it. Number one, the cinematography, filmography, whatever that. Once you
Mhm.
put that aside, so because that's what I did, I put that aside, and I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Well, the thing is, I can't put the cinematography aside. I just can't help myself. Like I keep on looking to see where the camera's going. You know.
But I mean, to do it, to describe that you like it without that part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I like it because of that for
Because of,
sure.
because of that, right?
That I enjoy. That captures you. How do you, you know, that whole episode is just the two of them, technically, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like 30 minutes of just them.
58 minutes of just them.
Well, I mean, there was some in and out and some other things, right? But basically,
Mm-hmm.
there's a time that it's just the two of them. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's interesting how you can to keep the room, but then when you think about the story, I'm like, I don't know if I liked it. And then I was like, you know what, I got to look at it differently because I was looking at it more from the kid
Mm-hmm.
perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and now I look at it from the parent's perspective.
But as we talked about it, though, right?
Mm.
You're saying like, if you take away the camera thing, you don't know if you like it, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to have some grace
Yes.
because now we got to understand that they got to do their best to make it as entertaining and as not complicated
Mm-hmm.
as possible so that these guys can get through their line.
That
You
you
know what I
know.
mean? So like any other show that we might like, they might entertain us with just jump cuts, like this
Mm-hmm.
that to that, and like we're all engaged because ooh. But now these people are like they're locked into their lines and they can't make a mistake, and the
Mm-hmm.
cameraman can't make a mistake, so everybody has to just be on point. So
Yes.
to,
Yes.
to do
That,
that for
but that gives it a floor of like a 7. Right? Just that alone, how they do what you just explained,
mm-hmm,
gives it that much, I think. Right?
mm-hmm.
So it makes it like, all right, the worst I can give it is a 7 because of all that stuff that you just said.
Okay,
Now,
right,
for
right,
me,
right, 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 right,
right?
right. Okay,
So now I'm trying to get from 7 to 10, and
right.
to get to 8, 9, I had to be like, shit. I've been watching this from the kid's perspective.
Mm-hmm,
Let me think of the story from the parents' perspective, and then for me, it got way better just from that part,
mm,
right? So, but then the acting, like I was reading an article where this is that kid's first thing,
really.
like his first thing, and the director was like, they were asking the director like, how was it dealing with this kid, and he was like, well, actually, for the kid didn't know any better.
Right,
This is all he
right.
know.
That's all
This
he
is how
knows.
it works.
Right,
He goes,
right,
so it might have been harder for the other actors, right? Stuff like that to be
mm-hmm,
able to adapt to that. But this kid's just like, oh, okay, all right, you know.
mm-hmm.
And then he was like, the hardest part was the school. He goes, that was the craziest part was
Yeah,
the school episode
that was
because
intense. Mm-hmm.
that was a they were like that was just a school. Those
Right.
weren't actors. They weren't actors.
Mm-hmm.
They were the students from that school or from
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Yeah, from that
Right.
school. That was pretty. So they had to coordinate all that shit.
Mm-hmm. That was
The
dope.
girl, the girl really knocked out the guy.
Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Let's use them.
It works. Works. You think it works? Works. Yeah, and then you're gonna get to episode fucking 4. I gotta hear what you say after episode 4. So, anyways, I'm not hate like all that stuff is, you're right, accounted for and a part of the deal and all that good stuff.
I like how you say, because of what they're doing, it has a floor of 7. So I like that. Yeah, it makes sense.
I have an understanding of how good, because hey, did you know that it wasn't just that one shot stuff? It was actually one take for each episode, babe. Like one just ready, go, and that was it. Not like they tried to, they might have had take 2 or whatever. Just all one time, that whole thing. I didn't know that. Anyways. So that makes it better too. Like that's like you say, that's like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they did the end of, was that the end of episode 2 with the drone?
Right. So somebody just told me.
Yeah.
Because since you're talking about drones, right? Somebody just told me, like, that chase scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chase scene.
Mm-hmm.
So what they said was, I don't know if you see.
Why are they? I was like, why are they running so slow? Okay, I'm running.
So during the chase scene, it's when they hooked up the camera to the drone.
Yeah.
So during that chase scene, like, I never seen it myself, but somebody was telling me that they saw that, like, behind the scenes. So the drone comes, and then like during the chase, then they hook it up to the drone, and then from there on out, it's drone. Which then, because I remember when I saw that drone shot, I was like, how did they do this?
Well, because they were saying even the they had to think of the camera, so they were using one of those like super gimbals or whatever. Because in the episode 3, the dude's like, "Yep, that's just me walking around and going in circles." Like that's the director guy, or whoever, or whatever he is, director, producer, or whatever, the boss man. He's like, that's me going around. And stuff like that. So all that gives it an amazing floor.
I'm curious to know how the lighting worked on that. Did they speak about that?
No, I mean, maybe. I'm getting old. I don't retain it all.
Because lighting is like an essential part of film, right?
Yeah, he did talk about. I forget what he said about lighting, but he did talk about lighting. That was important.
I'm gonna go find that then, what you're saying, because I'm really, really curious to understand how they lit. Like they're walking through everything, everywhere. Like, how did they